Hey, what's up? Welcome to Degen Ed. That's degenerative education, meaning none of this is financial advice. Just me having fun looking at charts and streaming the AMC's earnings call, which will be going on in an hour. And yeah, so the market just closed, it looks like. And yeah, so we're just going to watch the minute time frame, maybe switch it over to the 10-minute time frame, checking out AMC's chart as well as others. If you guys have any requests, can go over them over the course of the next hour, but then we will be tuning in to the earnings call. So yeah, it should be pretty fun. I do have, sorry, I'm a little flustered. I do have some AMC popcorn here for me in a little bowl and some Prosecco so we can celebrate a little bit. Hopefully you guys are excited about the earnings call. I feel like since the past few times we've had earnings, stock prices dropped either because of dilution, reverse split, stuff like that, just raising capital, any of that. I feel like this time might be different and we might be seeing, a little bit of a rally. And yeah, right now, let's see. I usually do my technical analysis on the daily time frame, make videos on AMC every week on Fridays. That's kind of my routine. And yeah, and so that's how I drew this green line. It does look like we are testing that now. I could see, and I would like to see a wick down to $3 a share. And then, a launch. That would be awesome. But, we'll have to see what happens during our earnings call, how it responds. With what's happened with GameStop over the past week, and just a lot of stuff going on, I feel like we might be seeing some good moves, some up moves with AMC. But who knows? Maybe not. Right now, currently looks like we're down 2 cents in the after hours. And yeah, I have done some videos. I've got some tickers on the side here I might flip over to periodically. I'm really just curious to see what Luminar closed at, ticker symbol LAZR. I put out a video when it was below $2 a share, and I drew this downtrend thinking that might be the start of inverse head and shoulders pattern, but then it just whipped up to this level up here. And yeah, with that being said, I still think there could be an inverse head and shoulders pattern, but I just think the measured move from the head to the neckline would now just be even larger. And so I could definitely see price going up to above $3 a share in the next few months. I am really excited about the company. They just announced, it looks like, that their largest LiDAR customer in the first quarter of the year was Tesla. And, Musk is always, I feel like, talking down about stuff that he's actually utilizing. He just doesn't want the competition to get the edge. And so Tesla's been utilizing LiDAR. Luminar is, in my view, a leader in that space. Lots of great collaborations with, or partnerships, I guess I should say, with Mercedes, with Volvo. Now it looks like with Tesla as a customer. So yeah, I just think it looks really good. But yeah, it did pull back. Everybody was saying, or I assume people would be saying that I was wrong. I was being bearish, but it did pull back a little bit. And, I kind of expected that. And I do think that we might be seeing, a retrace down to maybe 170, 160. Great dip buying opportunity before going up, in my view. But anyways, switch over to AMC. I will periodically switch over to other stocks, I think. And yeah, just looking at this on the minute time scale, still down, 2 cents in the after hours. So not too much going on with that. And let's see, what was it? What was the range on the day? I'm going to switch over to the daily chart again. Keep going back and forth. But so for the day, it was flat. Is that right? Yeah, it was flat. Yesterday's close was 319, closed at 319. So not too exciting. I think, we're just waiting for some exciting volatility. And this does, to me, look like it could be a bull flag going up here, consolidating, maybe getting some moves higher. So that's what I'm hoping for. But I'm also hoping for a wick down to $3 a share. But if that doesn't happen, that's fine too. But yeah, so hopefully you all are doing great. Hopefully you got some snacks. The stream's going to be at least 2 hours long. I like to have popcorn and Prosecco. I prefer Prosecco over champagne. But yeah, and on that note, I'm going to open this up just so I have some stuff to keep me entertained while doing this. And yeah, just to be celebrating. So yeah, I'm going to pop this in a second. And yeah, so it's great holding with all of you guys. I really like AMC. the stock, the company, and yeah, I'm really happy to be doing all this stuff. And this is, AMC is really, what taught me to be a holder as far as trading goes. Yeah, might be holding a bag, but it's gotten me a lot of exposure to other things, and I'm really grateful for it. So wherever the stock price goes, it doesn't really matter to me at this point. I'm just happy to be here. Yeah, let's see if I can do this in a dramatic fashion. There we go. Happy earnings day. Cheers, everybody. So, yeah, I don't know if this is going to get me in trouble, but it's a nice little tradition. I did it during the last earnings call. You can hear the little bubbles, hopefully. Yeah, yeah, and so I have a funny story about popping bottles. I in grad school I spent a total of 3 months living in Pisa, Italy, and I was given a bottle of prosecco to pop on my birthday. And the people I was working with laughed at me because I was very careful in how I popped it, and it didn't make a loud noise. And they're Italians; they really like drama, and they were giving me a hard time for not popping it with a big noise. And yeah, so I always feel like I need to be doing that. I will be, yeah. I will definitely be doing SNDL earnings as well as plug earnings tomorrow morning, which is going to be crazy. And then I'm also going to be covering like back to back or really in one stream after hours. I will be doing Clean Spark, so the first half an hour of their earnings call, and then I'll be doing a Marathon Digital after that. And doing their full earnings call. But yeah, definitely, I need to check. I think Plug Power is before earnings, and Sundial, I believe, is around 11 a.m. Eastern. But I will send out links to all of those after this stream, or maybe shortly after the stream. I might try to, if it's still light out when this ends, which I imagine it will be, I might try to do some stuff outside, and then I'll post those links. But yeah, definitely I will be hosting a stream of Sundial's call for sure. What's Marathon all about? So that's a Bitcoin miner. So I can flip over to this list here. Yes, they got earnings tomorrow. I can just do the daily chart here real quick. Yeah, it's gone up a bunch. Maybe this is a bull flag. Do have higher highs in the RSI and the stock price. So there's no bearish divergence. And so maybe this could be going higher. It could also be going in tandem with Bitcoin. If Bitcoin's making new highs, it does seem like it's broken out of this downtrend, but it's just kind of testing it. So we'll have to see. And then Clean Spark also, Bitcoin miner hasn't been, as I guess impressive as Mara to the upside. And I'm not really sure why that is. But I feel like Clean Spark focuses more on renewable, sustainable side of Bitcoin mining. But I know that Marathon Digital also does that. So anyways, I'm just really excited to learn more about both of these companies. I am not a holder, but I do stack Bitcoin and some other crypto coins. But yeah, I mean, I'm really excited to learn about them since the halving just happened. And also, yeah, with Clean Spark right here before I switch over back to AMC, does look like it tested the 786. So I mean, this could be a double bottom right there for them before going higher. But we'll have to see. Earnings are so tough to predict. Sometimes I like do an all right job with it, but most of the time it's just like 50-50. Maybe 10-minute time scale for this. Maybe that's good for now, or maybe 30-minute. I don't know. I like to look at the take a step back. I'm not really a day trader or anything, so going less than like the daily time scale, I don't always know what to do. And let's see. Hood net deposits up 11%. And revenue up 40%, going to be a $50 stock soon. Wild. Yeah, somebody was posting on Twitter about Robinhood, and I don't know if it's all right for me to show this here, if people will get angry. Yeah, up 7% in the after hours. I had pointed out that, and also, I mean, it's not settled, it could reverse, within after hours pre-market. You never know. But I was thinking, like, because there's this high here on the 29th, that we couldn't get a close above that. That suggested some weakness. But there are a number of bullish things going on with it. And, just with it really being like a Bitcoin play, I feel like Hood's a good one to hold, but, it's, questionable as far as retail and, all of that goes. And let's see. Have I ever looked at Wolf? I believe I have. Let's see. It's probably in the Terra Wolf. This is a Bitcoin miner as well. I should probably add this to the Bitcoin miner list. Trying to get my lists a little more organized these days. So they have earnings coming up on the 13th. Yeah, this seems like maybe not so good because it's like lower highs, higher lows. I mean, well, it could be going either way, really. So it's tough to say. I think the other ones. Oops, and I meant. Yeah, why did I put this? I meant to put this on the Bitcoin miners list. Yeah. Okay. Cool. But yeah. Let's see. And I wonder, if this is to be a shoulder. This is a head. This is a shoulder. They're not higher than the head, so maybe this is a head and shoulders pattern. This is going down. Maybe that's an indicator what will be happening for the other ones. But I'm not really too sure. And so, Vincent, you got 2 accounts. Loading Hood calls tomorrow. Yeah, we'll see if it's possible it's too late tomorrow. I don't know. I'm not touching Hood right now. I'm not really expanding any of my portfolio right now. I just I guess I've kind of consolidated over the past month, and I'm not really looking to add more positions, which is unfortunate. It's nice to do that, but yeah, Hood is one that usually tends to take off and surprise me to the upside. And Vincent's saying, oh yeah, and so Vincent's saying that the Discord's being used. I did put a link to it at the top of this, but I think if it's still in my clipboard, nope. Let's see. I think I can just copy from above. So yeah, if you guys are interested in the Discord, oh man, I didn't copy it. One second, I'm going to copy it from my phone, and then I should be able to post it there. But yeah, I created a Discord. You can see it, up in the top banner, the little icon there. It's dgen_ed, but I think it's a little hard to find. And so I'll just post the link here, and you guys should be able to join that. I'm probably not going to be terribly active on it, just because, I'm trying to put out as many videos as I can. But if you guys do want, share ideas about any stocks, there are a bunch of people on there who like sharing ideas. And, some people I would say a lot of people with higher risk tolerances than me, but also, a lot of people who, just like trade, look at charts, can offer some good feedback. And so, let's see. And I should switch this over to AMC. Sorry about that. But still, it's not really doing too much. But I should probably keep it on this in case we get some news, because I'm sure that their report will drop here in the next 15 minutes or so. Maybe doing this on the 5-minute time scale so we get a little bit bigger picture. But yeah, hey RW, what's up? Hey Ramen. Blink Charging, they have earnings tomorrow. What do I think? Man, are there earnings tomorrow morning? I can't do it because I'm doing Sundial and Plug. I knew that their earnings were tomorrow, but I had to prioritize Sundial and Plug. Yeah, I did just post a short on them. I always, there's somebody, Ben, I don't know if Ben's here, every single day at the end of every close, he always comments on whatever video I put out. What are my thoughts on Blink? And I can't always just comment on the analysis, so it's like, well, maybe I'll just do a short. And so I put out a short before close that hopefully is a good resource. I didn't really do too much with it, but let's see. Yeah, basically just from these highs, It's come down about 10% to the close. I could adjust this to be, yeah, right around 10% from the highs. I feel like, maybe it's bounced off of this previous high here. Let's look at the volume profile. I don't really see anything that really stands out too much. And so I could see it pulling back to this white downtrend, and maybe with the convergence of, this purple uptrend and the red line here at 250 just being kind of, a psychological level, I could see it pulling back to that, and that being a retest of the downtrend, but then as support, returning to the scene of the crime, and then it could launch from there. So maybe 250 to 255 seems good. That's what I put in the short, so you should check that out. I don't really put it shorts out too much just because it's like a style I'm not used to, and I think I do better with long format videos. So that's what I try to focus on. But yeah, that short should be, it's a 20-second short. Watch it a few times, maybe it's helpful. And let's see. Can you look at NNE? It's a new IPO. Cool, yeah, I'll throw up NNE. As long as AMC is not moving too much right now, just 316 down 3 cents in the after hours. This is nano nuclear energy. I'm going to have to check out the profile. Maybe I haven't been in uranium. Is an earlier stage nuclear energy company. I'm going to have to put this on the, I know it's not necessarily uranium, but with it being nuclear, it's going to be related to uranium. And yeah, I would have no idea because there's one candle here. But let's see, what's the market cap? 150 million. Yeah, I feel like a lot of the stocks that I've gotten into, like ChargePoint, I have a position in, I probably would have, I guess I kind of regret some of the positions I've gotten in that don't seem like there aren't lows below where they're currently at, and there aren't levels to really refer to other than like extensions. And so with as far as NNE goes, I'd probably want to wait at least a month, to see some candles on there. Hey Ben, what's up? I put out a short on Blink for you. I did just go over it here. I feel like putting out a short is probably better than a comment. But yeah, so what I did in the short I went over is just that they're from this top here, it's come down about 10%. And with earnings and looking like it's rolled over here, I feel like in this kind of convergence of these lines, I had thought that this was a descending triangle, which is a bearish pattern, that it's more likely to break to the downside. I was wrong about that. This, while it may not be a falling wedge necessarily, it's a wedge and it broke out to the upside. And so what's common, or not necessarily common, but what sometimes happens when you get a breakout, you get a retrace to the scene of the crime. That's how Gareth Soloway refers to it, where price pulls back to the level it broke out of. And, maybe this line could be adjusted, because there are these candles that go above it. But I could see price, in thinking about multiple levels, there's not only the downtrend, there's also this purple uptrend from these lows that we did get a break below. And hey, RW, thank you. I'll just finish this thought and then I'll check out your comment. The price could be coming down to all these levels, and 250, 255 seems like, it's a convergence of multiple levels. So I think that could be a great dip buying opportunity before this takes off. And, I've been wrong about Blink being overly cautious, thinking it was going to break down. And, I was right with their last earnings call. I actually bought a put here and made $1 on it. Nothing crazy, but just a little quick fun play. Did come down, and yeah, I was right there with that, but I was wrong overall with the bigger picture. And I think 250 is going to be a discount. And as far as getting to $6 a share, that's, more than 2x what it is right now. And so I think that's, it might take some time to get there. But, if it's something you want to set and forget, I think it definitely could get up to $6 a share. But it also could, continue the trend that it's been on. So you never know. It's tough with newer companies because shorts do tend to exploit them. So RW, checking out your comment. I'm new here, but already love your style of chart reading. Thank you. Vincent, he's If this ever gets to be big enough, I feel like maybe he'll be a moderator or something. Always encouraging and stuff. But yeah, I watch Gareth Soloway. I've learned a lot from him, and this channel is really just, I think I have it in the description of it. This just started as a trading journal. So this is like my personal trading journal. Making videos helps me to reinforce my learning from mistakes, successes, whatever. I did have a really good call on SoFi right before their earnings, so I'd check that video out if you think that's cool. But yeah, I mean, I feel like my record right now is probably like around 50-50. But you know, whether it's levels to the upside or downside, I mean, I've been told, I've been called out for like, oh yeah, it's either going up or it's going down. And it's like my goal is not necessarily to predict a price that something's going to, like AMC. I think it's going to go to 510. I do think that 510 will be notable resistance. But you know, also preparing for the downside, you know, like 238. That's also a possibility. So I like to just kind of prepare for any levels that a stock might hit to the upside and the downside. Personally, I average in, and or if I have large positions like I do with AMC, I tend to add pretty slowly. But if we get a wick down to $3 a share, I'm going to add a little more aggressively. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for. But if that doesn't happen too, I'm cool. Let's see. Young Macho Savage. What time is earnings? 5 p.m. Eastern, so it's in about 40 minutes. And I should switch over to the 5-minute time frame. Really not too much going out, so I imagine that they'll be dropping their earnings report maybe in the next 10 minutes, maybe like half an hour before the earnings call starts. And then we'd see some volatility around that. That's why I wanted to start this when the market closes, because that's when companies tend to drop their reports. See some volatility around that, and then when the call starts, we can really see how things respond to what Aron's saying. I don't know the CFO's name, but when the CFO's talking, and you know, seeing how things are responding to questions, I imagine Adam's going to have some pretty good news for us regarding collaborations and things like that, because we just got the news about Billie Eilish and her new album that's going to have like a listening experience in partnership with, I believe, Interscope Records, Apple Music, hosted at AMC theaters. So, you know, I think it's just like AMC, you know, going to a movie, you know, it used to just be like, you know, what you do on a Friday night with the family, but now we've got all this other stuff going on. Looks like we're getting some up moves maybe. But now I feel like it needs to be more than just that. It needs to be an experience. And like, you know, like, whoa, yeah, look at that. All right. And so I might switch over to the minute time frame if we're getting some volatility up, pull back. But yeah, so I think that there is a lot more of that going on, whether it's related to music, concerts, comedy. I think that there's just going to be so much more going on with the stock, with the company, and, you know, just really pivoting into this kind of new age following, you know, the pandemic and stuff like that. It looks like there's an ad. So if you guys are missing this, I'm going to actually skip the ad because we're getting some... Sorry if an ad popped up for you guys. I skipped it because I'd rather you guys get to watch this volatility than have to sit through an ad. But yeah, streams for some reason tend to be pretty weak performers for me. So I've been trying to experiment with ads and stuff on them. And so, yeah, I'm going to try to catch up on the comments. But yeah, let's see here. Can you post my... Yeah, so my Venmo, are you not able to find it via searching at DGenEd? I can definitely post it there. And also, no expectations. You guys do not need to do this. The only reason why I created this stuff is because people asked for it. And so I just created an account for the channel. And so I have to, I'm not really too familiar with doing this. So let's see. I gotta switch from my personal account to the channel account. 1 second, it's loading. Let's see. Let's see if this works. Okay, this should be like to the QR code. So I believe that should be it. That should be to DGen Ed. Should be the same icon with Ed on there. Um, but yeah, no, do not expect it. You know, it's just my goal with this channel is to be, you know, growing via ads and just slowly growing the community. And you know, it's, you know, retail led. I mean, it's all like a lot of the stuff that I do is really driven by what you guys request and stuff like that. And so let's see, I got to scroll up because I missed some comments. Um, okay, tomorrow after market close. Okay, why did they have an article saying earnings was May 16th? What time is it? Yeah, so earnings is at 5 p.m. Eastern today on the 8th. They might have a meeting on the 16th. It's quite possible they have a meeting in June, though. And yeah, but yeah, things are looking pretty volatile to the upside. So I'm going to try to speed through these comments. During which year were you a member with ITMS? Was I a member with ITMS? I'm not sure what ITMS is. Yeah, so I'm not familiar with this one. I'll try to add it here, but I'm not going to veer away from the AMC chart just with, you know, the stuff going on right now. And let's see. Let's see. Not sure what helps with risk management, but oh, the channel. I'm glad it does. That's I feel like I don't know. I feel like most of my friends don't trade. I have a very high tolerance to risk, but as far as traders go, I think I'm pretty conservative. Let's see, have to leave now. RW, take care. I'll be streaming again tomorrow multiple times for other earnings calls, and then Sundays at 9 p.m. Eastern always for Ticker Request Live. It's always fun to start the week that way, so I hope to see you there. Let's see. Yeah, happy earnings day, Horatio. Yeah, I'm stoked about it. I think that I'm sorry, man. I think that you're going to be wrong and that it's going to be going up. And so far, that seems to be the case. Although I do want to wick down to $3 for myself. Just you know, 1 minute down to $3, and that's it. And yeah, let's see. Tomorrow, let's see. In the money stocks with Gareth Soloway is. I don't use his service or anything. Oh, in the money stocks. I am not. So yeah, I'm going to delete ITMS here. So I'm super cheap. I don't pay for anything. I just watch his game plans, and when I can, I watch the trading the close. And I've really just like the way that my brain works, I really like I really zone into stuff like technical analysis, paying attention to numbers, all of these details, and I just really like his style. And also, you know, yeah, I feel like that he's really good at, you know, cautioning, risk management, stuff like that. And so I really just try to emulate what I learned from him. And, but yeah. Yeah. Happy to be wrong. When anything that we hold goes up and we're thinking it's going to go down, always happy if it goes up. But yeah, I just want to see a little dip to $3 and then go up to 20 or whatever. But yeah, this is looking good. And I don't know that you guys will be able to see it, but I'm going to flip over to see what their earnings are. And maybe I can read them to you while you guys watch the chart. Yeah, so the earnings were released, and so I have them pulled up here. And so I'll just read them to you guys so it doesn't obstruct the chart. Uh-oh. Maybe this is where we get down to $3. No. And actually, on that note, I think it's good to keep an eye on levels that we do hit during the after hours. They might be significant. So there's 314 and 335. So there's that. And let's see. Yeah, so I'm just going to read this to you guys. And yeah, so let's see. Okay, AMC Entertainment Holdings Incorporated reports first quarter of 2024 results. And so total revenues were $951.4 million compared to $954.4 million. So a little bit of a miss there, but ballpark still pretty good. See it coming down a little bit. Net loss improved to negative $163.5 million compared to net loss of negative $235.5 million for Q1 of last year. And so the net loss per diluted share was negative 62 cents, so a loss of 62 cents, compared to a loss of $1.71 for Q1 of last year. And the adjusted EBITDA was negative $31.6 million compared to $7.1 million for Q1 of last year. Included in the prior year's quarterly results ended March 31st of 2023 was a previously disclosed $16.7 million benefit to adjusted EBITDA related to an early termination of a theater release. And so net cash used in operating activities was negative $188.3 million compared to negative $189.9 for Q1 of 2023. Cash and cash equivalents at March 31st of this year was $624.4 million. And so, what's going on? And so right now, our cash and cash equivalents is $624 million, and the market cap is just like $260 million more than that. Yeah, so maybe we get some dip buying opportunities here, folks. And maybe this is short-lived. And so for me, I have not been aggressive enough at $3 a share, and I unfortunately got closed out of a position due to covered call, and so I decided I'm going to roll that money over into AMC. And so if it goes down to $3, I will add to a position, but if it does not, then I'm happy to, up is up. Yeah, hey David, what's up? Looking forward to your next Rocket Lab video. Yeah. I've got to do, I was actually thinking about doing one today. I keep a calendar of the videos that I do, how many views that they do get. And yeah, I was contemplating doing Rocket Lab today. If I wasn't doing the stream, I'd probably put out a Rocket Lab video. Or no, I think the last video that I put out was last Wednesday after close. And so I try to do them no more than once a week. And so I'll probably do a Rocket Lab video tomorrow. Not working tomorrow, so I should definitely have that out. And And if AMC wasn't going crazy right now, I'd throw up Rocket Lab. And maybe I can add it here just so we can see it on the side. But I'm going to flip over to it. Down a little bit in the after hours, it looks like. And so Philip Ladder's daughter works at Uniswap, where those tokenized shares come from, and Adam Aron's son worked at FTX, where those tokens were used as false locations to short the price down. Hold them accountable. Yeah, we'll have to see what they have to say about that stuff. I imagine there's a lot of, legal stuff keeping that under wraps or whatever. But I know that Adam's hinted about stuff like that. Martin, what's up? I've never seen an earnings as good as Hood. I'm loading leaps tomorrow. Yeah, you do you. I feel like there are a bunch of people who might be watching this who are very against Robinhood, but stock is a stock, money's money, and so more power to you if that's looking good and to continue tomorrow. I always get a little antsy when things go up in the after hours because maybe it's not going to continue. And Ben, Blink will report earnings tomorrow after the market closes. Okay, yeah, I'm overwhelmed with earnings calls tomorrow. Pre-market, I'm doing Plug, and then I think during the market hours in the morning, then doing Sundial, and then after hours is Clean Spark and Marathon Digital. And so yeah, I would do Blink, but I personally am just curious to learn more about Bitcoin miners since the halving just happened. That's, for me, educational. And then also I imagine that I've always seen, posts about Marathon, and I'm personally interested in Clean Spark, but I don't have any position in either of those. Yeah, and Horatio, yeah, it's for me, it's like I've been, it'd be like a share or two a week and stuff, but then since I just closed the position as something else, it's like, well, I have that on the side, and so if this goes to $3, but if not, I'm just holding and hanging out. And I should note, like, my positions are all pretty small. I think my largest position, uh, like I think as far as shares, I believe most definitely AMC might be Biora just because that's so cheap. It's actually probably Biora, but I don't know that AMC is my largest position as far as capital goes because price has gone down so much. But to me, it is 314. Let's see if that can hold. And I'm going to add another line here at 308. Hopefully we don't test that. But if we do, it's a discount. I'm going to eat some popcorn. I might turn the mic on mute while I munch, though. So the earnings call starts in about 24 minutes. I will probably flip over to their webcast around quarter till, about 10 minutes from now, because then their call should be live. Probably just music. I'll put that in my ear. And then once the music stops, the call will start and I'll mute myself and we can just watch. And I'll put comments either on the chart or in the chat. And I'll try to draw lines that do stand out to me. Just kind of so it's more interactive. Not only we're getting the information from the call, but it's not. I don't know if it's illegal, but they're not like allowed to. I believe not allowed to be looking at the chart when talking about that stuff. They're not trying to influence the price, and so this way, we can be engaged with the chart, each other, and listening to the call. So I find this a much more enjoyable way to partake in an earnings call than just listening to it or watching a presentation. Because to be honest, most of it's too much information for me. I don't understand all of the technical jargon and stuff. Still learning about the finance aspect of things. But yeah, the more earnings calls that I do, the more familiar I'll get. And that's kind of the goal of the channel, just be learning. Like I list it as an educational channel. I don't know how educational it is, but for me, it's definitely educational. And so let's see, trying to catch up on these comments. Let's see, 200 calls loaded. Let's go. Yeah, I'm either selling tomorrow or getting 200 more. I salute to you as well. Yep, Hood did us dirty, but if you can make money from them, then go for it. It's a good app, so I'm not mad. Yeah, so that's the thing I think is kind of interesting about it. I still use Robinhood because I had shares locked up in their app back in, was it 20, that was 2021, right? And so, yeah, I mean, I still have it and I plan on continuing to use it until those shares are, no longer there. But I've been finding it pretty useful for crypto. Like that's my main use for it. Making small purchases, transferring them to cold storage or swinging them. And yeah, I mean, so I feel like that's more of a crypto play at this point, not really a stock or, whatever. I think that their value is probably more tied up in crypto than in stocks because they've done so many people dirty. Man, when is Rocket Lab's earnings? Or did they already passed on the 6th? Yeah. So let's see, 308 is maybe acting as support. I'm going to add this level 306. I'm just going to keep adding levels that might be significant. Man, yeah. 314, let's get above pi. Yeah, and 306, I believe that was the low from yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. $306 was the low from yesterday. So I find that pretty interesting. And then the low from the day before, 304. So maybe those levels are of importance. 308 was the low for today, I believe. 307, I guess. So yeah, and I can continue reading the earnings. Oh, well, I see some more comments. And so Horacio saying it would be great if AA would say he's going to back off from diluting. Yeah, that would be nice to know that that's not going to happen because it's gotten really old. And, you know, he was able to do the collaboration with Billie Eilish, Apple Music, Interscope Records. And so hopefully we're able to continue doing stuff like that, but with the capital that's already on the table. That would be nice. And so my thoughts on SNDL, I'm just going to leave it on AMC because their earnings cost coming up so much, but I will put them on the side here so we can see what the percentage moves are, at least in the after hours. And I will be doing their earnings call in the morning. I'll probably be starting it before, well before, maybe like 15 minutes before the earnings call starts to go over the chart a little bit. But with it being down today, here, I'll pull it up on my phone so I'm not obstructing the view of AMC, and I'll let you know what I think. But I think, like cannabis stocks in general, I just think that they're going to be good performers over the course of the year. It does look like it may have topped with maybe a double top, but it's not a higher high and the RSI is lower, so there's no like bearish divergence. But considering that it's at highs, it might be pulling back some, but maybe like there was on, let's see, on March 27th, there was a candle that popped up around 219. So maybe there'd be a wick or something that goes down to that level for SNDL. But yeah, for me personally, I don't have SNDL, but I do have Tilray. And generally, I feel like I went with Tilray because it's one of the, if not the largest market cap cannabis companies, just being a little bit safer with it, I guess. But from my understanding of Sundial, is their finances are in really great shape. So I think that they could be going up a lot long term. And really, you know, it's like when fundamentals come into play, that's like a long-term perspective. If you're thinking about fundamentals really around an earnings call or anything like that, you know, earnings can be a beat, but it's priced in, and so price comes down, or vice versa. And so I think that if fundamentals are strong, it's something you don't even have to worry about it. Buy on dips and forget about the rest. Got banned from Robinhood for talking smack. Was in PCO. I don't know what PCO is. Was that when it was like frozen? PCO. Oh. That means something else. PCO stocks. Oh, well. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to look that up later. But it's about getting pretty close to earnings call time. About 17 minutes. So I'm just going to plug myself into the computer and connect myself to their webcast, which is probably just going to be music for me. And then I'll at least be able to know when it starts, and then I can connect you guys to the audio. Then I'll mute myself, and we can just watch together and exchange comments via the live chat, or I'll be posting comments on the chart as well. And so switch over to the webcast here. All right, I am connected to the call. And so what I might do, it's just like elevator music, so you guys aren't missing anything. But what I might do is adjust the display a little bit so you can see the AMC logo there. So just give me a second with that. So this is what's going on over here. Oh, maybe. Sorry, I'm gonna obscure this a little bit, but I just gotta, I've done this before during a stream and really screwed it up, so hopefully I don't screw it up too much. Well, let's see. Oop. I don't know if you guys can see as I'm moving this stuff around, or if, I imagine you can. I just want to make it so it's right above me. Dang it, too big. All right, the fun of live streaming. I just want to shrink this a little bit more. All right, so catch up on these comments. I hope some people might be experiencing an ad right now. Sorry about that, but not too much is going on with the chart. So let's see. Position close only. Yeah, I mean, Robinhood, whatever. Yeah. It's pretty crazy that they're still able to operate after having done that. There weren't more repercussions or anything. Let's see. I'll admit I am one of the people who lost faith in Aron, but I want to believe he really is the silverback. I think the thing about investing that I try to remind myself, and I feel like AMC has been a good lesson in it, is that, like, for me, I feel like for a lot of us, AMC is not really a trade, it's an investment. Investments take a long time. Like Warren Buffett didn't make his fortunes over the course of a year. Long-term holding, ups and downs, And, I feel like a lot of people would say, oh, Warren Buffett, all of this stuff, apes are nothing like that. But, how do we have conviction in holding through such down days, such down years? We've been able to do that by forming community. And, yeah, so I think that, I think a lot of us probably would have lost faith at this point. Yeah, Adam Aron a lot of his wealth is tied to, pretty much majority of his wealth is tied to the performance of AMC shares. But he needs to be doing what's best for the company. And as far as investments go, as far as businesses pivoting, that stuff takes time, especially, following the pandemic, following the actor strike, writer strike. There have just been a lot of hits. And I think that one thing, I don't know about you guys, I don't have a huge TV or anything. I don't have a huge sound system. Maybe if I did, I'd feel differently. But I can't focus on anything without picking up my phone every once in a while. It takes me out of the zone. And going to a theater, I turn my phone off. I get into the zone. I have an experience. And I think that's something that we've been taking for granted for a while. And I think that we're getting back to the point where, being at home just doesn't cut it. It's nice to have an experience. And I think that AMC is doing that, whether it's with collaborations with musicians. I believe that there will be collaborations with comedians. I would definitely like to see some comedians in AMC theaters. And yeah, the food and beverage stuff that they're working on. I think that there's just a lot of great stuff going on with the company. And, it's an investment. So you want to buy it when it's down and then hope that it flourishes. And so right now we're in the down days. So we're going to have to, see what happens. And so let's see. And then what were my thoughts on the AMC votes? I believe I pretty much just voted yes for everything because that's what the board was encouraging. And I feel like I rarely ever go against what the board's encouraging because it's, yeah, I mean, their interest is, with the shareholders as well because they're shareholders. But also, they get benefits, compensation, and stuff. So for me personally, I voted yes to everything, I believe, unless they discouraged a vote. I'm pretty sure on the GameStop one that they had a vote for recently, one of them was they recommended voting no on it. And so, yeah, I tried to go with them. And so Vincent thought that AMC would crash for sure, not going to lie. Yeah, I feel like the bottom's in for AMC, but, I could be wrong. But like at 268, I believe, 52-week low, 238. I think, yeah, and then 238, it has to go to like 480 for that to 2x. Just so many great opportunities. Whether you've been holding this whole time or, whatever, I think that the bottom is in the past or very near, and I think that there's a lot of upside for the remainder of this year and into 2025 for sure. And so AA will say Q2 will still be affected by Hollywood writer's strike. What a joke, the CAO. Yeah, I mean, I think that Q3, I think that we're going to start to see the other side of that writer's strike, actor's strike. And yeah, and that is the reality of it. I have a family member who lives in LA, does work, not on movies, but does work in the industry. And he's got a bunch of friends with who are actors, stuff like that. And yeah, their work's definitely been affected. So it's not just like a movie theater thing. It's broad stemming. And so, yeah, I don't think it's a joke. But, I do think that the stock price could be much higher. But it is what it is. And in this, I think that we're going to look back at $3 a share and wish we bought more, as that's how these things work out. But maybe it goes down to 2 and we're going to be thankful we didn't buy at 3. I don't know. But I think that, just looking at the chart, I mean, I don't know. I got a bunch of lines up here. Maybe I'm going to delete this retracement there so it's not so cluttered. Maybe delete this one as well. But yeah, I think that this could be a bull flag and we could be seeing it going up tomorrow. We had about 7 minutes before the earnings call starts. Still got elevator music in my ear. Yeah. I agree. I think that maybe he'd mentioned something about the writer's strike, but I feel like, the actor's strike. But I think that he would talk about it being over or nearly over as far as affecting the movies, talking about summer releases, fall releases. I mean, I'm excited for Deadpool and Wolverine. There's the new Beetlejuice movie. Come on, that's been, I don't know, 30 plus years since the first one came out. And yeah, I mean, so and I'm also curious, I guess, how they're going to do the special effects in that, because there's so much claymation and animation, in the original Beetlejuice. Because I feel like Star Wars in some cases did a really good job at integrating like puppets and stuff into their newer movies while also having CG. But some of their movies, overdid it. Like I feel like the prequels. I just saw the Phantom Menace in theaters on Sunday, and yeah, it's like looking back, it's like that was a very impressive time for that kind of technology, visual graphics. But there were a lot of stuff that things that were overdone unnecessarily. Puppets could have been used, or practical effects, and I think that like Christopher Nolan does an excellent job at using CGI to just enhance what's captured on the camera rather than for it to be a focal point of what is being viewed. And so I feel like Tim Burton will do a really good job with that just because of the style of his filming. It's very that artistic style. It's not so much on the computer but more on the practical. Yeah, I'll be. I think we'll all be pretty pissed if he mentions reverse split. But because we're, if we were $2, I think that might be on the plate. But it's listed on the New York Stock Exchange. A dollar is a key level to hold. We're 3x that right now, over that. So, um, I don't think that will be necessary unless it's. I mean, maybe there would be some dilution though to raise capital, but not necessarily a reverse split. But yeah, I mean, this is investing in AMC distribution. That is changing the industry, and so when you change anything, when you disrupt, that's going to cost money up front, and then you see the benefits of it later, and that's disrupting Hollywood. Harvey Weinstein, that's Hollywood. That's a lot of power behind there. All of that controversy around that, all of the terrible things that he did and others have done, and what that's raised attention to. Uh, Messing with Hollywood is no joke. And so, yeah, that's what AMC is doing with the distribution, and it's just going to be sky's the limit once all this stuff starts coming together. Once we start seeing the other side of it. And so, why would Adam Aron not say anything about naked short selling? The whole board is corrupt, selling shares at the lowest point. And so I would say that he probably wouldn't say anything about naked short selling and probably a lot of stuff regarding the stock price because of legal matters. I don't think that they're allowed to say much of that stuff because they're not allowed to, influence the stock price and things like that. And, like Tesla, Elon Musk has gotten into some heat around that. But I mean, he's just being himself. He's just talking. And yeah, so I mean, it's a fine line to walk, I guess. In about 3 minutes before the earnings call should be starting. I hope you all have some popcorn for the stream or some chocolates, or for the call, I should say. I've got a bowl and a bag of the popcorn right here, but it munches and you guys will hear it, so I'll wait until I'm muted to eat it. But I need to munch a little bit. Yeah, Devin Nunes talks about it. Yeah, with JWT for Truth Social or Trump Media. And so I think that's raising good attention to the problem, but it's also like I've heard about what is it? It's like Up something or Upstart, I believe maybe from a few years ago. The CEO was always talking about short selling and all this stuff, and I don't think it ended up paying off too well in the end. But yeah, I mean, it's just regulation of that stuff. SEC, there's just too much money on Wall Street that can influence regulators like the SEC. Things don't get done, and same with politics and all of that. So, yeah, too much money in these things that it gets pushes things down, especially stock prices, and so. But yeah, I mean, when people come together, it's like the quote from Game of Thrones or whatever, and I think like Ants or Bug's Life maybe. I think it's Ants, where it's like the ants and the crickets or something. Maybe it's grasshoppers. I don't know. But they just, overpower them because they all come together. And so we're like the ants. Come together. We can make some big changes. And I feel like we're drawing a lot of attention to stuff by participating in the markets. And so I think that's something that, like the pandemic, we're going to be seeing for a long time, is that it's really shifted a lot of things for people and how they approach things. I got more involved in the stock market because of it. Yeah, nothing. And so Horacio is saying nothing wrong with saying the company's going to look into it, would make investors happy. Bugs Life. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that we'll have to see what Aron has to say. And it looks like 5 o'clock. And so the call should be starting any minute now. I'm actually just going to refresh this to make sure. Still just music. I've done a stream, I believe it was for Fuel Cell, for their earnings call. Oh man, did oh, that got shifted. I gotta shift the dang it. All right, maybe I'll just move that behind myself so it's not embarrassing and I don't distract. The call is starting, so I'm going to mute myself in 1 second. I'm just going to get this set up for you guys.
Greetings and welcome.
Hopefully you guys
to
can
AMC
hear this.
Entertainment Holdings, Inc.
I will
First
mute myself. Let me know in the live chat if you have any concerns about the sound, but it should be good. I'm going to mute myself now.
Question and
Enjoy,
answer
guys.
session will follow the formal presentation. If anyone should require operator assistance during the conference, please press *0 on your telephone keypad. As a reminder, this conference is being recorded. I would now like to turn the conference over to your host, John Merriweather, Vice President, Capital Markets and IR. Please go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Joe. Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome everyone to AMC's first quarter 2024 earnings webcast. With me this afternoon is Aron, our Chairman and CEO, and Sean Goodman, our Chief Financial Officer. Before I turn the webcast over to Adam, let me remind everyone that some of the comments made by management during this webcast may contain forward-looking statements that are based on management's current expectations. Numerous risks, uncertainties, and other factors may cause actual results to differ materially from those that might be expressed today. Many of these risks and uncertainties are discussed in our most recent public filings, including our most recently filed 10-Q and 10-K. Several of the factors that will determine the company's future results are beyond the ability of the company to control or predict. In light of the uncertainties inherent in any forward-looking statements, listeners are cautioned against relying on these statements. The company undertakes no obligation to revise or update any forward-looking statements, whether as a result of new information or future events. On this webcast, we may reference non-GAAP financial measures, such as adjusted EBITDA, constant currency, free cash flow, among others. For a full reconciliation of our non-GAAP measures to GAAP results, please see our earnings release posted in the Investor Relations section of our website earlier this afternoon. After our prepared remarks, there will be a question and answer session. This afternoon's webcast is being recorded and a replay will be available in the Investor Relations section of our website at amctheaters.com later today. With that, I'll turn the call over to Adam.
Thank you, John. Good afternoon, one and all, and thank you for joining us today. Against the backdrop of an industry box office that was hampered by Hollywood's strike-induced production delays, AMC once again outperformed. We exceeded Wall Street expectations for total revenues, adjusted EBITDA, net income, and diluted earnings per share. It was no surprise to most astute observers that the number of major film releases in the first quarter of 2024 would be greatly reduced because of production delays caused by the 5-month-long actors and writers strikes of 2023 in Hollywood. Indeed, we saw that one major studio had its first quarter domestic box office revenues decrease by an astounding 98% compared to the first quarter of 2023. That studio's decline was not because of some strategic shift to streaming or a disinterest by consumers in going to movie theaters. It was solely because they were not able to release new films into the market due to the actors and writers strikes of midsummer last year. However, at AMC, we were heartened by several important events in the first quarter. First, that moviegoing bounced back in March, which was a considerably stronger month than January or February. Second, that our company's intensive review of the movies coming out later in 2024, 2025, and 2026 suggests, in our view, that very good times are ahead for the movie theater industry. And third, that our company, AMC Entertainment, performed so well in Q1, increasing our market share and continuing to become a more potent and more efficient operator. Notwithstanding a 6% decline in the quarter's North American box office compared to 2023, AMC's total revenue remained broadly in line with the prior year, and our per-patron revenue and per-patron profit continued along their stellar growth trajectory, with all-time first-quarter records achieved on these two metrics in our domestic business. At AMC in the quarter, our total revenue per patron was almost 36% above the pre-pandemic level in Q1 of 2019. And even more impressive is that our contribution margin per patron, defined as total revenue, less film exhibition costs, and less food and beverage costs, divided by the number of patrons, was almost 44% above pre-pandemic Q1 of 2019. These achievements are thanks to our relentless focus on enhancing the guest experience at our theaters, while at the same time driving efficiency in our operations. Through our resilience, resolve, creativity, and flexibility, AMC continues to adeptly navigate through changing and challenging circumstances. Our surging revenues per patron and surging profit per patron numbers are why at AMC we believe that there is now a path for AMC to achieve the same levels of EBITDA that we enjoyed pre-pandemic, even at lower levels of revenue. What's more, if and when the industry revenue does fully recover, we would then expect to be able to achieve substantially higher levels of EBITDA than we did in the past. Moviegoer sentiment is clear. Guests want to see movies on a huge silver screen, and they are consistently willing to pay more for the best possible experience. That certainly favors AMC, as we have more premium large format screens, namely IMAX, Dolby Cinema, and Prime, than any other cinema operator in the world. Consumers are also paying up for innovative food and beverage offerings, and AMC continues to outsell all our major competitors in F&B. All moviegoers also are now buying movie-themed merchandise from us online and at our concession stands in quantities that we have never before seen. Enough said from me about the first quarter of 2024, because my focus is not on a strike that impacted January and February movie releases. It is instead on two other things. First, is not the movies that were not released in January and February. It is instead the movie slate that is coming over the next 2 years to 2.5 years. I am more optimistic now about the future of movie theaters than I have ever been. And that's because of the movie slate that's coming, especially towards the end of 2024, in 2025, and again in the first half of 26, which hold, in my opinion, great promise. Second, I'm paying great attention to our cash reserves. I've said over and over again on these calls and webcasts that cash is king, and that the smartest thing AMC has ever done since COVID hit in 2020 was to make sure that our cash reserves at AMC were robust, while other theater operators fell by the wayside. To that end, it is so energizing and so reassuring that we had $624 million of unrestricted cash at the end of Q1, and that AMC has raised yet another $124.1 million of equity capital since March 31. With cash in the bank, we are better prepared to weather any storm. But fortunately, storms do end. As a result, we see the box office turning an important corner later this year and again in full year 2025. This is not just AMC's view. Having recently returned from our industry's largest and most important annual gathering, CinemaCon, the positive energy in the air was palpable. One studio after another confirmed that film production was once again in full motion, that they were eager to bring more titles to the silver screen, and that the value of theatrical exhibition has never been more evident. I'm not going to regale you on this webcast with all the titles of the cavalcade of big movies that are coming, but they are indeed coming. And it all starts in just a few months with a great slate of movies exclusively for theatrical exhibition. They include new characters and captivating storylines, along with familiar faces and popular franchises. When I look at year-end 2024, and especially at full year 2025, and I see an industry box office, I don't think I should say yet, hallelujah, let the good times roll. But I can finally say with confidence, hallelujah, let the significantly better times roll. Things are looking up as we look ahead. I'll now pass this webcast over to Sean to provide more details on our financial results just released, after which I'll return to update you on some key initiatives before taking questions from our sell-side analysts and from our retail shareholders. Sean?
Thanks, Adam, and thank you to everyone for joining us this afternoon. The box office in the first quarter was impacted by last year's Hollywood strikes. Despite a 6% decline in the North American box office compared to Q1 of 2023, AMC was able to maintain total revenue within 1% of last year's first quarter. This was achieved thanks to the North American market share growing by over 70 basis points, more than any other top 50 theater operator, solid attendance growth in our European business of approximately 6%, and total revenue per patron growth of 1.8%. Now, looking at our domestic segment and comparing the first quarter of 2024 to Q1 of 2023, with the box office down by approximately 6%, our admissions revenue declined by 3.2%, outperforming the industry, and total revenue declined by only 2.2%. Total revenue per patron increased by 3.8%, with admissions revenue per patron up by 2.7% and food and beverage revenue per patron up by 1.2%. These per patron metrics were all-time first quarter records for AMC, and our total revenue per patron was some 43% ahead of the first quarter of pre-pandemic 2019. In addition, our contribution margin per patron, which we define as total revenue less film exhibition costs and less food and beverage costs, divided by the number of guests, was $15.32. This is 5% above the first quarter of 2023 and 54% above the first quarter of pre-pandemic 2019. These strong per patron metrics are as a result of the continued success of our innovative market-leading food and beverage offerings, as well as our alternative content and immersive PLF offerings, and revenue diversification initiatives such as retail popcorn. Add to this our ongoing theater portfolio rationalization and thoughtful expense management, and we end up with record-setting results. Now looking at our international segment and comparing the first quarter of 2024 to Q1 of 2023, this is all in constant currency. Admissions revenue increased by 3.7%, and total revenue increased by 2.8%. Total revenue per patron declined by 2.9%, with admissions revenue per patron down by 2% and food and beverage revenue per patron down by 1.4%. Note that total revenue per patron was 27.8% ahead of the first quarter of pre-pandemic 2019. Contribution margin per patron was 3.6% below the first quarter of 2023, up 30.3% above the first quarter of pre-pandemic 2019. Our international per patron metrics this quarter were adversely impacted by country mix, with relatively strong attendance growth in the traditionally lower revenue per patron market of Italy, coupled with attendance declines in the traditionally higher revenue per patron markets of Sweden and Germany. In addition, while our European attendance benefited from strong local content offerings, particularly in Finland, Germany, Italy, and Sweden, such content is associated with lower PLF mix and lower revenue per patron. As we continue along our recovery glide path, we will maintain our focus on providing a differentiated, high-value guest experience at our theaters across the globe and profitable revenue growth through diversification initiatives such as retail popcorn, AMC branded candy, and the distribution of alternative content. All of this while paying very close attention to our overall operating efficiency. Now moving to cash flow and the balance sheet. We ended the first quarter of 2024 with unrestricted cash of $624.2 million, which translates into $188.3 million of net cash used in operating activities for the quarter. This is broadly in line with the net cash used in operating activities in Q1 of 2023. CapEx, net of landlord contributions, was $46 million in the first quarter. We continue to expect net CapEx in 2024 to be in the range of $175 to $225 million. From a theater portfolio perspective, we continue to actively manage our footprint. During the first quarter, we closed 4 underperforming locations and we added 1 new high-performing theater. This will bring the total number of locations closed since the pandemic began to 169 and the total number of new locations opened to 60 for a net reduction of 109 locations or 10.9% of our locations at December 31st, 2019. And we continue to see that the 60 new locations clearly outperform the 169 closed locations. To ensure our ongoing recovery and position us to thrive as our industry grows, our top 2 capital allocation priorities must remain. Number 1, we must ensure that we have sufficient liquidity to manage through our recovery phase, including the impact of last year's Hollywood strikes. And number 2, we must strengthen our balance sheet by extending debt maturities and improving our financial leverage. During the first quarter, we exchanged $17.5 million of debt for roughly 2.5 million shares of common stock, recording a profit of $5.8 million. And we also repaid approximately $8.4 million of deferred rent. The deferred rent balance at the end of Q1 was $47.9 million, and we would plan to reduce this balance by another approximately $12 million by the end of 2024. Thus far, during the second quarter of 2024, we have raised $124.1 million of gross equity proceeds, excluding commissions and fees, through the sale of approximately 38.5 million shares under our existing ATM or at-the-market offering program. So overall, since the beginning of 2022, so over the last 2.3 years, we have raised nearly $1.2 billion of gross equity capital. We've lowered the principal value of our debt and finance leases by $707 million through debt repayments, repurchases, or exchanges of debt for equity, and we've repaid $267 million of deferred leases. This all for a total reduction of debt and deferred leases of $974 million. This debt reduction has also lowered our annual cash interest expense by approximately $60 million. These actions have prepared us to face with confidence a relatively weak box office in the first half of 2024. And while the second quarter is forecast to be well below 2023's record second quarter, that quarter benefited from the tremendous success of titles such as Super Mario Brothers, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. We are increasingly enthusiastic about the second half of the year and a return to a strong and vibrant post-pandemic growth trajectory. And now I'll hand the webcast back over to Adam.
Thank you, Sean. Before taking your questions, I'd like to bring you all up to date on 5 ongoing initiatives at AMC. First is our continuing dialogue with several of the world's greatest musical artists. As you know, for the first time in our company's history, in late 2023, we surprised the world with our Taylor Swift and Beyoncé concert films. That appears to be the gift that keeps on giving, because ever since, we've been in conversation with artist after artist after artist after artist, some of the biggest names who routinely fill arenas and stadiums the world over. That has led to an announcement just yesterday of our collaboration with 9-time Grammy winner and 2-time Academy Award winner Billie Eilish. In partnership with Apple Music and Interscope Records, next week, on May 16 and 17, our AMC Theater Dolby Cinemas will be an integral part of the launch of her new album, Hit Me Hard and Soft. In a special listening event, Billie Eilish fans will be able to hear the new album in Dolby Atmos sound exclusively at AMC Theaters the day before the album is released to the public. The visual content on screen has been carefully selected to delight those in attendance. This is just the beginning of the innovative programming that will be coming to our theaters from our new distribution arm, AMC Theaters Distribution. While the Billie Eilish listening event will take place only at AMC locations, we took great pride that so many of our fellow movie theater operators were included in our efforts with Taylor Swift and Beyoncé. We expect going forward that some of our activity in this sphere will be exclusively held at AMC locations only, and that other activity cooperatively will be shared across our entire industry. Second, let's talk briefly about the success of AMC's Retail Popcorn Initiative, which just now has celebrated its 1-year anniversary. Initially offered exclusively at Walmart, with ready-to-eat popcorn at just 550 locations, but within weeks thereafter, we introduced our microwave popcorn varieties, and we expanded to some 2,600 Walmart stores, as well as to Walmart.com. Sales have been brisk, and more retailers have decided to carry our branded popcorn for the home. Today, AMC's Perfectly Popcorn is now sold at 6,500 points of distribution, or nearly 12 times as many locations as when we first launched a year ago. We've added Amazon.com as well, and grocery juggernauts Publix and Kroger to our distribution channels, and we are ambitiously pursuing further growth, adding more grocery chains as we look ahead later this year and next. The third topic to discuss today is our exploding food and beverage sales numbers, which lead the industry among major operators in the United States. Naturally, we're pleased that the New York State Legislature just weeks ago agreed to allow movie theaters to serve alcohol, a ban that has been in place for almost a century, believe it or not. This means for us that we can add lucrative liquor sales at 30 more AMC movie theaters across the state of New York. Beyond that, our culinary team continues to work passionately on innovative in-theater food and beverage offerings. For example, at more than 400 AMC theaters across the country in the United States, we've just added new, fresh donut hole offerings in multiple flavors to sweeten the movie-going experience. The Baker's Dozen shareable donut holes come in 3 heavenly flavors: cinnamon sugar, strawberry, and our proprietary peanut butter blend created in partnership with PB2. Every serving comes with a container of warm icing to make each bite even sweeter and to add just a few calories to this neat little offering at AMC. These things might look like donut holes to our guests, but to us, they look like incremental dollars. We expect to sell a lot. Similarly, we're innovating at our 50 dine-in theaters as well, where guests are served a more comprehensive food and beverage menu. We've added 4 entirely new offerings: new artisan pizzas with 5 different toppings, 2 new chicken sandwich choices, each nestled on a toasted brioche bun, a new Caesar salad with chicken to complement our already popular Cobb salad, and last but certainly not least, again, to satisfy those sweet tooth or teeth, we've introduced milkshakes in 5 flavors, including chocolate with Ghirardelli chocolate syrup, vanilla, strawberry, peanut butter with a Reese's peanut butter sauce, and an Oreo shake with Oreo cookie pieces mixed in. It's no accident that AMC Food and Beverage leads the way in our industry. We devote substantial resources to imaginatively understanding the flavor palette and the diverse tastes and appetites of AMC moviegoers. The fourth topic to discuss quickly, at our European theaters, we have just introduced an intriguing innovation which we've named XL. We have branded more than 60 of our larger screen auditoriums, but screens that would not necessarily qualify as a premium large format. We've given them an XL name, XL for extra large, of course, and gently nudge into the market a small premium price in these auditoriums. We're watching the success of this new product very closely to see if we should expand the concept further in Europe and or to our U.S. theaters as well. And finally, fifth, we are taking our AMC Investor Connect program very seriously, both to reward our shareholders and to stimulate added patronage at our theaters from the more than 1 million members in this program. In the summer of 2021, AMC launched AMC Investor Connect, a first of its kind program in which our shareholders were invited to enroll so that we could engage directly with them. Investor benefits to our retail shareholders through AMC Investor Connect have included shareholder-exclusive promotions, NFTs, free or discounted items, invitations, special screenings, and communications directly from me as CEO of the business. Our continued commitment to AMC Investor Connect recognized the important role that our retail shareholders have played in getting AMC through these past difficult COVID and strike-impacted years, and the program is designed to provide them with truly exclusive rewards and benefits. Especially knowing that there are many retail shareholders listening to this webcast right now, can I remind you all that at 7 p.m. local time tonight, in our IMAX Dolby Cinema and AMC Prime auditoriums, we are offering a special advanced screening of Disney's stunning new movie, that's right, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which opens to the general public this weekend. We hope you enjoy it. Now it's time to take your questions, but before I do, here are our final thoughts on the first quarter and our near and longer term prospects. In the first quarter, AMC exceeded all expectations, a quarter that admittedly was impacted by last year's Hollywood strikes. The second quarter's box office, while likely will be sequentially stronger and bigger than Q1, but it will still too be impacted by the strikes of last year and will fall significantly below last year's second quarter because last year's second quarter just happened to be the single strongest quarter in all of 2023. However, when we speak again in August, after the second quarter is in the books, based on what we know today, we believe that the summer box office will be strong, healthy, and growing. AMC is poised handsomely to benefit as our movie-going audience will be thoroughly entertained next summer by titles playing at an AMC theater near you, including Disney's Deadpool and Wolverine and Universal's Despicable Me 4 and Twisters. And looking beyond just the summer, we similarly are excited about what we anticipate for the fourth quarter, with such blockbusters titles as Warner Brothers' Joker, Folie à Deux, Universal's Wicked, bringing to the screen the Broadway musical that has run for decades, and more, like Disney's Mufasa the Lion King and Sony's Venom, The Last Dance. I could go on and on and on about the movies that are coming in 2024. But not only are we confident about the second half of 2024, we are also literally enthralled about an accelerating box office recovery as we head into 2025 and on into 2026. The box office in 2025 should be materially stronger than it has been in several years. AMC continues to be resilient, leveraging innovation as well as hard and smart work to navigate through these turbulent times. We have positioned ourselves not only to survive in troubled waters, but also to thrive as our industry grows. And as we look at 2025, we believe that our industry will again grow. We think the future, therefore, looks very bright. With that, Sean, let's move to questions.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Joe, you can. Go ahead, Joe.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to ask a question, please press star 1 on your telephone keypad, and a confirmation tone will indicate your line is in the question queue. You may press star 2 if you would like to remove your question from the queue. For participants using speaker equipment, it may be necessary to pick up your handset before pressing the star keys. And our first question comes from the line of Jim Goss with Barrington Research. Please proceed.
All right, thanks. Adam, regarding your discussion about food and beverage initiatives, clearly dollars are more important than margin percentages, but I wonder if you could talk about how you think in terms of introducing items and the pricing attached to those items, and where you feel the food and beverage margin should settle in. It's slipped a little bit in the last quarters for some of the reasons that have taken place.
So, Jim, we're picking up increased food and beverage sales, sort of staggering numbers. You know, pre-pandemic, routinely, food and beverage sales per patron were about $5 a head at AMC. I'm using the domestic numbers as a placeholder, not the European numbers. The European numbers are a little bit less than the U.S. numbers. And they've shot up to around $8 to $9 a head post-pandemic. So we're looking at a huge increase. And our F&B margins are in the low 80s. It varies item by item and quarter by quarter, but my rule of thumb is about 82% of incremental food and beverage sales flows to the bottom line. So when we pop a $4 increase in food and beverage spending over where we were a few years ago, that's a huge driver of income for us. And it's one of the reasons that our revenue per patron is up so much. It's one of the reasons our profit per patron numbers are up so much. And it really comes from three factors, or maybe I should say four factors. One, we have slightly, and only slightly, raised the prices on our F&B products. Second, though, more and more people are stopping at our concession stands and buying food and beverage items from us. There is no rule that says you have to buy food or drink when you come into the movie theater. You can't just buy the ticket, go to your chair, enjoy the movie, and leave. But what we have seen over the last couple of years is that we're doing a much better job in capturing more people to stop at the concession stand and buy. The third factor is they're buying more items. So where someone used to buy one item, maybe they're buying two. If they're buying a drink and a popcorn, maybe they're buying a third item as well. If they're buying three items before, now they're stocking up and buying four. If there are multiple people in the party, maybe more people in the party are taking items individually in the theater. And then the fourth item, and this is one of the issues that might affect food and beverage margins a little bit, are merchandise sales at the concession stands, which are not as high a margin as 82%, but they're still very attractive margins. 3 or 4 years ago, we didn't have any merchandise sales at our concession stands, like literally zero. In calendar year 23, we had $54 million of merchandise sales just at our U.S. theaters. So that might affect the margins a little bit. But as I said, this whole area has been one of staggering success for us. We've given our food and beverage organization more staffing, more resources to run our F&B business. We've asked of them to launch innovative new products in our theaters, at our our theaters, at our concession stands, at our regular theaters. And so far, so good. We're quite optimistic that this growth will continue and that the margins are going to stay real high. I have often said you can do very well when you're selling air and water, air being popcorn and water being Coca-Cola. The whole industry has been pretty successful in improving its F&B numbers over the last few years, but AMC has really led the way. We've outpaced everybody else.
Okay, thanks. And just one other one. And if we use the Billie Eilish concert or a pre-recorded concert as an example. Is this something you think you could then share with cinema competitors, or is that just a one and done sort of thing? Or could you do a limited run at AMC, like every Wednesday or something of that nature, to take advantage of it, but not interfere with your first run theater or first run films?
So, when you talk about every Wednesday, that means 52 Wednesdays.
Well, or not necessarily, just some pattern.
No, I know, but what I was going to say, with 9 Grammys and 2 Oscars, there aren't 52 Billie Eilishes. So I don't, and it's a tremendous amount of work to get these artists to agree to showcase their talent in our theaters. But that having been said, I don't think we'll be doing 52 a year of them. But I do think that we'll be doing several per year. Even a one-time listening event is lucrative for us on a per-screen basis. And of course, the Taylor Swift and Beyonce concert films were enormous for AMC. They represented more than 15% of our total profitability for the year last year, if you look at the EBITDA they generated. I do think that many of the, I do think that, I know from having talked to so many people who are either the artists themselves or representing the artists, that there's a lot of interest in the movie industry generally based on what we pulled off collectively for Taylor and for Beyonce. I would expect several major projects a year. I'm really excited about this listening event for Billie Eilish because it's not a concert film. It's her new album release, which they've put some visuals to. Is it possible that a lot of major artists will look to movie theaters as an intriguing way to launch their albums and to garner extra publicity and fan interest, especially auditoriums equipped with something as industry leading as Dolby Atmos sound? We put together the Billie Eilish thing with pretty tight timing. So it really wasn't practical to try to take this one to our competitors. But the success of Taylor and Beyonce was that we did take it to our competitors. It wasn't just an AMC thing. It was an industry thing. We had a very good market share, but it was an industry-wide effort. And we're going to be working very hard with our fellow movie theater operators through AMC Theaters Distribution, our distribution arm, to offer experiences not only at AMC, but also to take them to our competitors' theaters as well. So I really think it's an industry-wide opportunity, but AMC is blazing a new trail, and we're way out in front. And the summary is some of it we'll wind up doing ourselves alone, exclusively, and others we will certainly take to our competitors. I have to say, this is one circumstance where our competitors have been fabulous to work with. You know, we fight like cats and dogs all year long, but on pulling off Taylor Swift and pulling off Beyonce, so many of the names that you would recognize as major theater chains in the U.S., in Canada, in Mexico, in Europe, and globally, were our best possible partners in this effort, and we would expect to be able to bring more such experiences to them either later in 2024 or in 2025.
All right. Well, thanks very much for taking my questions.
Thank you, Jim.
And the next question comes from the line of Alicia Reese with Wedbush Securities. Please proceed.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I'm looking at the dynamics around market share in film rent. And so I'm just looking at, there are a few titles in the quarter that drove most of the box office, particularly domestically. And a lot of that coming from Dune, which presumably led your market share gains in the quarter. as you have the largest footprint of IMAX screens, and that played very well on IMAX. But I'm wondering if you could talk, at least qualitatively, about the dynamics that drove your film rent substantially lower year over year.
Sure. Sean, I'll throw in something, and Sean will take it in addition. If you look at the first quarter, there were fewer big blockbuster films and more middle-sized films that were in our theaters that did really well. And if you look at we've never really disclosed our deals studio by studio, but they tend to be on sliding scales where studios command a higher film rent on higher grossing films. And the fact that there were so many middle-sized and smaller films that led the way in the first quarter, that explains a lot of why the film rent reduction was achieved by AMC. Anything?
Yeah, sure. I'll just give you a little bit more color. So when we look at the number of titles that we played in Q1 2024, over $5 million, we had 41 in Q1 versus 35 in Q1 2023. And obviously the box office was lower in 24 than 2023. So yes, June was the biggest title of the quarter, most significant. But after June, the box office per title went down quite significantly. And so it's exactly as Adam says, when the films have a lower gross per showing, that certainly impacts our film rent favorably.
Thank you.
Thank you. There are no further questions on the audio line. I would like to turn the call back to management for retail shareholder questions.
Thank you, operator. Okay, Sean, so what questions have come in from our retail shareholders?
So the first question is related to market share as well. And the question says that, AMC has been growing market share in the U.S. market while at the same time closing underperforming theaters. So can you comment about what we can attribute this success to? And do we see this market share growth as sustainable as the industry recovers?
Sure. So, yeah, it's a pretty impressive trick to increase your market share when you're closing 100 theaters. But that's exactly what we did. And part of it is, and as you mentioned in your earlier remarks, our 70 basis point improvement in market share was a higher market share growth than was achieved by any of the 50 largest movie theater circuits in the United States. That's very encouraging for us. Part of it is because we think our theaters are in good shape. Part of it is because we think we've got very strong marketing, which I'll talk about later. But also, what's really interesting is that the theaters that we are closing were our older, more tired theaters, buildings that were sort of at the end of their 20 or 30-year useful lives that weren't grossing all that much. And the theaters that we opened were shiny new ones in great locations, usually open with reclining seats to start. And as it turns out, it's incredible but true, the 60 theaters that we opened outgrossed the 169 theaters that we closed. So we're replacing older, tired, unsuccessful theaters with thriving ones. And some of the ones that we've opened are amongst literally our highest grossing, most profitable theaters in all of Europe and in all of the United States.
Terrific. And the next question is about AMC Cinema Suites. Question here is looking for an update on Cinema Suites, and is there a chance that we release these products on the retail channel?
So Cinema Suites is doing great. We're very pleased. As you all know, I think it was in the fourth quarter of 2023, we unveiled a proprietary house brand of premium gourmet candies, chocolate-covered peanuts, chocolate-covered raisins, chocolate-covered almonds, chocolate-covered pretzels. Four different SKUs. We say they're premium gourmet candies because they have a lot more chocolate, and we tend to charge the same price for Cinema Sweets as we charge what I might call regular branded candies that everybody knows and loves. They've been selling well. They're nicely ahead of expectations. We've had no problem with the supply chain and getting these delivered to us in quantity. And I would think that we would, in fact, take them to the retail market at some point going forward. Exactly when, I don't know. It's not the highest priority. There are other things that are higher on the list of things to do to make more money for AMC. But Cinema Sweets has done great. We're glad we did it.
Great. And then the next question is about our capital expenditure. Can we provide some color on AMC's CapEx spend? Where are we allocating the money?
Well, since your nickname around here is Dr. No, and you're the one who's ration with capital, and we've done everything in our power not to spend capital expenditures at the moment, because our preference has been to build up our cash reserves for a rainy day. Why don't you answer the CapEx question?
Thanks, Adam. Well, it's true we are very disciplined in our capital spend, particularly during this recovery period. But the good news is that AMC has a very large number of high return investment opportunities. Right now, we're prioritizing those investments that maintain our existing buildings, our existing equipment, our IT capabilities, so that we can continue to provide the best possible guest experience. But we're always allocating our capital to the best risk-adjusted return opportunities, and we'll continue to do that. When I look to the future and I see sort of the pipeline of attractive investment opportunities we have, they include our premium large format auditoriums, sight and sound upgrades, automation of the guest experience, theater seating, etc. So again, there are many very attractive opportunities, but now around 75% of our capital spend is really focused on maintaining the assets to continue to provide the best possible guest experience.
Thank you, Sean. And I might add that I think the priority of spending has been maintenance CapEx first, because we have to keep our theaters in decent shape. But to the extent that we have additional monies in the door, our priority has been to use that to build up our cash reserves. My comments in my earlier prepared remarks of cash is king, it's a serious comment. I do believe that one of the reasons why AMC has defied gravity the last 4 years and surprised a lot of people who thought we might run into trouble that we didn't, is we built up our cash reserves intelligently. But having said that, there are so many interesting ways that we could reinvest in the business. And I personally think the most lucrative of those ideas is, as you said, the increased premium large format screens. I hope that we can add more IMAX screens and Dolby Cinema screens. We are the largest IMAX exhibitor in the world outside of China. We're the largest Dolby Cinema exhibitor in the world. We have about half of the IMAX locations in North America. We have all the Dolby Cinema locations in North America. Those auditoriums do extremely well. And if we can rustle up some capital expenditure money to do it, adding more of them is a great idea.
Agreed. Next question here is related to debt. The investor asks, with a significant amount of debt maturing in 2026, 2 years from now, what is the company doing to address this debt that is maturing and reduce the overall debt level?
So in terms of reducing the debt level, we have done, I think, a phenomenal job over the last few years of paying down debt and other deferred obligations like deferred rent. We So in the last 2 years, roughly, we've paid off almost $1 billion of long-term debt and other deferred obligations, which is encouraging. We've done that in part by buying a lot of debt back in the open market at a discount, which means you're doing it at a profit, which is also good. Still realizing we are playing a capital allocation game of reducing debt, buying in debt versus investing in the business through CapEx versus building up our cash reserves. It's a bit of an art form, which actually, Sean, you manage this process day to day. And we've paid off or reduced so much of our debt and obligations. It is kind of staggering to me that we had to borrow about $2 billion to survive COVID. And yet, if you look today at our net debt, AMC's net debt today is less than it was just prior to COVID. So how is it possible that, we had to borrow $2 billion to survive, and yet we have less debt today than we had going into COVID? And the answer, of course, is because we raised a lot of equity and we paid down debt, which is important for us to do. Looking forward, we still have about $4.5 billion of debt. Not much matures before 2026, but there are huge maturities in 2026. And I can assure everyone listening to this call today that the management of this company, which has been pretty smart in how we've navigated ourselves through the pandemic heretofore, and a leveraged balance sheet without a lot of EBITDA heretofore, that same management team is wholly focused on the debt maturities that are due in 2026. This is not something that we're going to look at next year or the year after that. We've been working with our board of directors and our investment banks for almost a year now in discussing the smartest ways to extend the maturities of our 2026 debt into future time periods. The good news is that we have lender syndicates who generally like AMC, have worked with us before, are working with us now. I'm hopeful that we will come to some conclusion that will allow us to push out the debt maturities from 2026 into future periods. There's nothing to announce yet because there's nothing that's final or done yet. There's no agreement that's imminent, like it's going to be announced in a day or a week. But it has our highest attention. We know about our obligations coming forward. We intend to refinance if at all possible, and we're hopeful that we can do so on attractive terms.
Absolutely agreed. And then the last question that we have is relating to the upcoming shareholder meeting. There's a question here. I would like to vote at the upcoming shareholder meeting, but how do I vote? I've not received any proxy information.
Well, I hope you all do vote, for those who own shares, that is. I hope you all do vote. In prior years, the voting numbers at AMC have been pretty low because it has been the habit of some retail investors not to vote. I would remind everybody this is a chance to have your voices be heard. We pay attention to what you say in these shareholder votes. We act accordingly. You know that I reduced my own compensation this year in response to what shareholders were saying in the so-called say on pay vote. So we really do want you to vote. We want to hear what you're thinking. But the way you vote is you go to your broker where your shares are held, and you get the proxy materials from your broker. If you haven't received proxy materials yet, I know that I've received mine as an AMC shareholder from several different brokers. But if you haven't received yours, you should call your broker. You should ask for your proxy materials. We do have a proxy advisor, a solicitor here in the United States called D.F. King. You can call D.F. King if you would like help. There's a toll-free number that's been set up, 1-800-859-8511. Let me repeat that, 1-800-859-8511. If you hold your shares through DRS, you get your proxy materials from the registrar, Computershare. And I just might add, since I know that we have many international shareholders who listen to these webcasts, we do know that voting in shareholder meetings for American companies is not as easy abroad as it is in the United States. And in some cases, it is impossible because some overseas brokerages do not facilitate getting proxy materials to shareholders. And we have discussed this at length. There is literally nothing that we can do as a single lister on the New York Stock Exchange to do anything about that. All we can do is suggest to you that you change brokers and change from a broker who will not get you proxy materials to a broker who will get you proxy materials. But as I said, we encourage you to vote. It's a good thing. And the shareholder meeting is coming not too far from now. With that, I think you're telling me we're done with questions. So we're going to thank you all for joining us today. I leave you with two simple thoughts. As we look at the box office for the end of this year and for next year and into 2026, the box office looks spectacular compared to what we've suffered with in 2020, 21, 22, and 23. And the second thing I'll leave you with is not too late. It's only 5 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock East. At 7 o'clock local time all across the country in our premium large formats is a special advanced screening of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Should be a pretty big movie this weekend. With that, thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you. This concludes today's conference. You may now disconnect your lines at this time. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Hey, all right, so that is it. I'm going to unplug myself. I think I have the computer muted, so you won't be hearing the elevator music they had before their call. But yeah, so I mean, that was kind of an uneventful stream, or call, I should say, as far as the chart goes. Really just hugging 314. You know, I find it really surprising. I've noticed this, whether it's March 14th or just price 314 in a number of stocks, it seems to be kind of a magnet. And so I wonder if there's some sort of geometry around that. But yeah, let's see. Salty dog. I guess that means no more dilution. Yes, but one thing that concerns me as far as the dilution goes is that Aron did say something about cash is king. And so I would look for a tweet in the next few days regarding cash is king. And if that is the case, maybe brace for a drop, and that could be an opportunity to get your average down, or, you know, just brace for it psychologically, you know. But the last earnings call, he did mention cash is king. He did mention, you know, that that is, you know, something. And then he tweeted about it. One of my thumbnails included an image of this guy, you know, running down this pathway. And that was from one of his tweets about cash being king. And then just a couple days later, there was a notice of what dilution or a reverse split, I forget at this point. But so I do think that he does try to send us signals. And so that could be a nice thing, you know, if it's like, you know, waiting to buy the dip, and maybe the dip is at this price. But if he announces something like that, maybe the dip's going to be even lower. And so that could be a nice way to really time getting averages down or just bracing oneself for the duration. But what he was talking about, he even mentioned in the call. I feel like we've heard about 2025, that the second half of 2024 into 2025 looks good, but he even said 2026 in this call. So, I mean, this is an investment, that's what Diamond Hands is all about. It's about investing in something that you believe in. And so if this is something that we believe in, whether it's the second half of 2024, 2025, 2026, I think that, AMC is really, there's a comment about bowling and other things that some newer movie theaters have been, I guess, pivoting into, or, kind of straddling these different sectors. But AMC's specialty is not bowling. AMC's specialty is movies, experience, food concessions, merchandise. And we've kind of been expanding that stuff into retail stores. The only place that I don't have a Publix or a Kroger where I live. The only place where I can get AMC popcorn, other than Amazon, of course, is Walmart. And so I'm able to do that. But I think that expanding the chocolate into grocery stores, that would make it more accessible to me. I unfortunately don't live around an AMC. So I have to drive a little bit to get one, or, I just go to the local theater that doesn't have the AMC chocolates or popcorn. But I think that the distribution, and there was I think it was a TikTok, I'm not really sure, that pointed out basically how movie theaters, how corporations like AMC make money through the distribution rights, and AMC has kind of bypassed the movie theater production company, the movie production company, with the deals with Taylor Swift and Beyonce. And so I think that is really like the most earth-shattering thing that AMC has done, taking out a middleman, and that middleman being extremely powerful. And we've seen that so much. I feel like it's affected all of our lives, as far as Harvey Weinstein and dating and all of that, and just raising awareness to all of these things. And there's just so much power behind that industry. And AMC is very strategically attacking it, changing the industry. And so I think that's perhaps the best angle that AMC has, not just taking from other things, but creating something new. And so I'm really excited about that. We didn't hear AI, so that would have been nice to hear. But I think that we have a brighter future to look forward to, and that's why we invest. We invest in the future. We don't invest in the past. We don't invest in the present. We're investing in the future. And while a few years ago, more than a few years ago, we were investing in a future that we thought was sooner than maybe 5 years later. But I think now, a couple years later, we're going to see things a lot different, whether that's seeing squeezes and pullbacks from now until then, or just seeing the fundamentals of the company being reflected in the stock price. So yeah, I think that the distribution, especially, I think that it will be even more, not necessarily even more so, but another level of earth-shattering if we see a comedy special at an AMC theater, because we see that so much with Netflix. But to see that on an AMC screen, maybe before Netflix, maybe in partnership with Netflix, that it's released a week or two in advance at an AMC and then onto Netflix. It's about pivoting and knowing that, you can either view a Netflix as an enemy, or you can view Netflix as, hey, this would benefit both of us. Let's work together. And that's really the pathway into the future, is to embrace the strengths of the others around you and help them lift you up. Rising tide lifts all ships. And if it's streaming versus theaters, I mean, for me, like the Fall Guy, Ryan Gosling movie just came out. I haven't seen it, but I feel like it's a pretty big hit. But then there was also the, I don't even know the name of it, but there was a Ryan Gosling with Chris Evans movie that was released on Netflix. I don't even know the name of it. And that was just on Netflix. That was a Netflix movie. I watched it, I enjoyed it, but it's not the kind of movie I want to watch on my home theater experience, which is not that much. I want to see that in the theater. I want to see that kind of action on the big screen with the big sound. AMC offers that. And so doing partnerships, expanding upon collaborations, and like leapfrogging is something that's done with technology. Like in the US, we have landlines and then we have cell phones. But then in developing nations, they can skip landlines and just go right to cell phones. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that we are basically leapfrogging, the conventional Hollywood way and working directly with the artists, whether that's musicians, whether that's comedians, whether that is with, movie producers themselves, directors, actors, artists. So I think there's a lot of potential. And so I'm just going to check out these comments. Let's see. We need to rally behind the Planet of the Apes movie. Yeah, so for me, I don't live near an AMC, but I want to see that movie in the theaters. And actually, I got so many streams to do tomorrow. Maybe I can do, I don't know that I can tomorrow. I work this weekend, so it's kind of tough for me. But maybe next week, I could take a little trip. I might actually invite somebody to go with me. Maybe that would be fun. On Monday, basically this coming Monday. I'm off Monday and Tuesday next week. I work a 3-day weekend. But yeah, I want to see Planet of the Apes in the theaters at an AMC. So let's see. How is he the silverback when he has not purchased and held shares? He has only sold. This guy is a fraud and criminal. I think that he has more of his wealth stored in AMC shares than any of us. So I would disagree with that statement. As far as selling some shares, I think there's a saying that, there's a number of reasons to sell shares, but really only one to buy them. And I think that, as CEO, as chairman, as board members, they're compensated with stock. And so when whether it's taxes due, bills are due, whatever it is, part of their compensation is the stock. So it's not just, it's like when trimming a position, you're still holding the position, you're still bullish on it, but you're just protecting yourself or securing yourself for, whatever is needed. And so I feel like a lot of board members, a lot of insiders, they do that because they have other financial needs that, because it's a part of their compensation. So maybe I've just been gaslit, and that's what I'm doing with you guys here with this little speech. But I think that he is definitely a silverback, and I think a couple of years from now, we're going to be very proud that he led us through the dark times. And, it's like everything has a lag to it. Things don't always happen immediately. We saw an immediate response to the pandemic, but we're having to dig and claw our way out of it. And so that's what we're doing right now. And so, yeah. I think distribution is great. What about comedians releasing in theaters, not just music artists? So I had seen something about Dane Cook reaching out to him. I then later saw something about Dane Cook going on to Netflix. I don't know. I started following on Twitter, but I don't really pay attention too much. I don't follow too many comedians, I guess you could say. But I think it would be super awesome if like Dave Chappelle put out something on AMC rather than Netflix. Although I think that like he's making so much bank on Netflix, but I would definitely go to a theater to watch some of, not all, but, some of comedians. I think that would be a much better experience than watching it on my couch by myself. I'd much rather be in a theater with other people. We can laugh. If it's at a theater where you can get drinks, that would be awesome. And so Netflix, Prime, Hulu, they could all benefit from working with AMC. I agree. Yeah, it's like like they've moved themselves into a position to be like a threat following the pandemic. But now that we're kind of out of the pandemic, and I mean, for me, and just with our attention spans, like I need something to force me to turn my phone off. Like even throughout this call, I've checked my phone a number of times. I'm sure you all have. Some of you are probably checking your phones right now for other things. But I think that going to a theater, we respect the theater. We pay respect to that, and silencing the phones, turning them off, and zoning into that experience. And so that's not something that you can get with Netflix or Hulu or Amazon or whatever it is. Going to the movie theaters is an experience. And if AMC is able to get more rights to the material that's shown on their screens, whether that's through musicians, comedians, movie producers, artists, I think that there is a lot for AMC with that, and not necessarily as a competition against Netflix, Prime, or Hulu, but perhaps, hey, look, this is a big action-packed movie Netflix is producing with Ryan Gosling. That's great, but a lot of people are going to want to see that on the big screen, so why don't we make a deal the first 2 weeks or something is at AMC, and then after that, it's Netflix and AMC, and we can both make money. I think it's a better way to do it. And also, too, I don't know about you guys. Through my phone plan, which is Verizon, I have an account with Hulu, but I no longer have a subscription to Netflix. For Amazon, I just make sure my orders are above $35 and I get free shipping. I don't have Prime, so I don't benefit from Prime Video. I don't get Netflix, and I think that we will start to see a reflection of this behavior of the consumer tightening in things like Netflix, Prime, Hulu subscriptions. And, for me, if I want to spend a little bit of money, it's not going to be to stay at home, because staying at home is my way to not spend money. If I want to have an experience, if I want to enjoy the paychecks that I'm earning, if I want to enjoy my weekend, I'm not going to sit at home and watch something. I'm going to go out, whether that's to the bars, whether that's to a club, whether that's to a movie theater, to have an experience. And so, I think that we will start to see a rollover in stocks, companies like Netflix, and that is going to roll over into AMC because people want experiences. We need breaks. Even if we go into a recession, I think that people are going to need breaks, and a movie is not a terribly expensive break to have, an experience to take you out of the home with the family, wholesome experience, whether or not you get the popcorn at the theater or you just enjoy what's on the screen. I have a number of fond memories as a kid, as a young adult, as an adult, going to the movies, and I don't think that's something that's going to be going away. And I think that if the economy is to turn around, subscriptions to Netflix are going to start going down. Roll that money into, a monthly or weekly outing to your local theater. And so, let's see. There is no exception for selling Ape to a hedge fund that was shorting the stock when he could have paid off all debt. Any other CEO could have had this company in a way better position. He did that on purpose. Yeah, so I'm not going to argue against him. I maybe have taken the red pill, I guess. I'm all in. I'm back in the and I feel like, of course, things could have been done better. I am not a perfect human being. I don't think any of us can argue that we're perfect human beings, whether that's in our personal lives, whether that's in our professional lives. And things could have been done differently. But I think just look at that I shared it on the channel that Nicole Kidman received an award. I forget what organization it was, but Morgan Freeman, or wait, no, that was wait, was it? I think it was Morgan Freeman. It was Morgan Freeman. Sorry, Morgan Freeman did basically a celebration of Nicole Kidman's ad for AMC to celebrate her, and I think that that's really made an impact, and that we see artists, promoting. Of course, any actor is going to promote, encourage going to the theaters because that's how they make their money. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember, Scarlett Johansson had a dispute with Disney regarding, I believe, the release of Black Widow. I'm not sure exactly. But it was, I think, had a limited release on the big screen or went right to Disney Plus. And she made a lot less money because of that. And so if artists are able to make more money on the big screen than they are on a streaming platform, who do you think's going to win? Like, do I go to see a movie because it's Disney, or do I go to see a movie because it's Scarlett Johansson or because it's Mark Ruffalo or whoever it is? Like I go to see the actor portraying the character that I want to fall in love with or that I want to empathize with. It's not the producer in the background. It's not the studio that puts their stamp on it. It's the experience, it's the personal connection that we have with these people, with these professionals, the actors. And so if they benefit from big screen releases, who do you think is going to benefit from that as well? The shareholders of companies like AMC. And so I think that it is a slow burn, unfortunately. I think that it is eventually going to explode, though. It is dynamite, and we are here for the ride. And yeah, I mean, this is, and what's happened here, we're down 6 cents after hours, less than 2%. We've seen over the past couple of weeks, 25-30% drops or jumps following earnings. So seeing 2% in the after hours is nothing. To me, that is strength. We are solid and that we have found our ground. And maybe we dip a little bit lower later. Maybe we don't. This is the bottom, and that 238 is the bottom. I could definitely see that. That's what I feel. I feel like 238 is the bottom. I think that we're going higher from here. Maybe we dip to $3. Maybe we dip to $2.75, $2.69, because that would be fun. But 238, I think that the bottom's in. And if it's not, then that's just more discounted shares. It's incredible how many shares of the company you can get at $2.38, a lot. So yeah, I think it's all good moving forward. And so AMC was actually bought by a Chinese company called Wanda. I had heard that a few years ago, and so I'm not sure how that is, and that might be perhaps just related to Chinese releases or something like that, because I know that. There's controversy on posters for movies that are shown in China, whether that's with a person of color or I guess black man on the cover or a woman. I think that like Star Wars has definitely been a point regarding that, as far as John Boyega, his image has been shrunk on those posters. And so I'm not sure if Wanda owns like a portion of AMC, like AMC owns a portion of Hycroft Mining, and that is just for like the Chinese market. So that is quite possible. I don't really know about it. I am just kind of spitballing here. But then also, Jedi says, I agree. Going to the theater back in the 80s and 90s used to be an experience. They'd be wise to capitalize on this. And yeah, I have a fond memory being a little kid going to see A Nightmare Before Christmas in the theaters. And, that's something I'm never going to forget. And so I think that's what AMC can really capitalize on. And so, I just think that we need to get back to our, basically our wholesome values. I think that we've gotten distracted a lot, whether it's by social media or just technology in general. that we're taken out of the experience and onto our phones. And so I think that we will be reverting back to, the more wholesome, family experience. And AMC is going to be benefiting from that. And so AMC will be bought out if you voted yes. If you voted yes to what? I don't necessarily agree. I'm not exactly sure I know what you're talking about, but yeah. And so, yeah, I don't know if there's anything else to go over as far as the stock goes, as far as the chart goes. It's just been hovering around pi at 3.14. Got the line right here. Did break lower than this uptrend that I had hoped would be acting as support. But there's no strategy. The low for the day was $3.07. We're higher than that after earnings. And, if we do look back in time, maybe it's a good time to do that. Following this last earnings report from February, we were trading higher leading up to it. But then the following day, we were down nearly 13.5%. And so, now we're seeing down nearly 2%, not even 2%. This earnings report on the 8th, we saw the following day down again 13.5%. This one over here, earnings report, also corresponding with the 1-for-10 reverse split. And I believe this was dealing with the APE shares and all of that. Here on, let's see, that was the 8th. So on the 8th, is that right? I guess actually the following day, we were down about 3.7%, but then I believe this gap down was the APE shares, and then the merger there. And that was a gap down and move down of 35.55%, so pretty massive there. And so, yeah, I think that, let's look at these trend lines. Coming down to this white downtrend, which may or may not be significant, for today, that's $2.98. We did not hit that as a low. We could still be respecting this green uptrend. Maybe we open lower than it, but we could be closing higher than it. I think that, for me, it's a no-brainer to hold. It's a no-brainer to accumulate on dips as I can. And if I can't, then I just hold. And, how long will it take us, up here? This is $14 a share. That was August, the end of August of last year. We could say September. Not too long ago, we've got some gaps here that need to be filled, coming up to around $44. I do think that we will bump into some resistance around there because we do see this consolidation if I throw up the volume profile. It's not much compared to all this time we've spent down here, but there is a volume shelf there, and that would be really picking up around $35. And so I think a 10x sounds great, and I think it sounds feasible. Whether that's in 2024, 2025, or 2026, it doesn't really matter to me at this point. Is it coming back to $393.63? I imagine. I think that, what's a stereotype that you have of the U.S.? What's a stereotype that you have of, like, the glamour and glory of America? It's Hollywood, going to the movies. And so I don't think that's something that's going away. And I think that, these are the dark times as a shareholder, but this is going to be the times that we will look back. There's like that meme of, a dad with his wife and his son, and, the kid's like, well, Dad, how do we get this? Or Dad, did you sell, at $3.19? And the dad's like, no, I bought. And the kid's like, legendary. And so that's what we're seeing right now. This is the time that legends are made, not up here, but down here. And so do you want to be a legend, or do you want to be a bag holder? Do you want to be someone who trolls or trashes or shills, at Lowe's because they're bitter that they got out at 238 when they could have been holding? Who knows? And maybe, they're glad they got out here, but I think that, in the future we'll be breaking above 35. And I think that, it's like it's the dark times, and, we got to be here to show each other some light. And so, this is all about community, about believing in like American values, going to the movie theaters, and actors are behind that. The artists who produce the movies are behind it. Basically the hedge funds of Hollywood, the distributors, the studios, they are not for this. The big money is not for this, but that's why this is a movement, and movements aren't supposed to be easy. And if we want to change the game, we got to play it, and that's what we're doing right now. And so let's see. Everyone join the independent share count. It can help us in future lawsuits against the corrupt. And so I'm just gonna pose. Is there a resource for that? I'll just say that verbally. But I do have. It looks like 29 people still watching. If you guys want me to go over any more stuff, I've really just been rambling. Happy to do so. But if not, this was pointed out by Big Mo. If you are enjoying the content, make sure you like it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I will always try to do AMC earnings calls, but it's possible I will be working at the next one. Hopefully I'll take the day off. I will try to do that. Make sure you always share your thoughts, whether that's in the live chat or in the comments down below of any video. Happy to take your requests, your thoughts. I always try to respond within 24 hours, but sometimes I do get behind. And also regarding streams, I do stream every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, taking ticker requests live. I almost didn't do it this past Sunday, because I was just feeling burnt out. I was just tired. But that's part of the thing that helps me start my week, sharing ideas and just going over the charts. So, hopefully this makes whatever it is that you're holding, whatever that you're interested in, whether it's buying, selling, holding, whatever. Hopefully this helps you. I just view it as, for me, this is a trading journal that I am able to learn from. Hopefully you all can learn from, whether it's my mistakes or my successes, and the stocks, coins, commodities, whatever that you guys request. Hopefully that you're able to, benefit from the content that I produce. And I really just think of it as, if you're to go out to a bar with a buddy and chat about stocks, I'm that buddy, and we can chat about stocks, go over the charts. I may very well be wrong. In my opinion, it may very much differ from yours, but I don't always think that's a bad thing. And I want to point this out. This is one that I'm really proud of that recently happened, the SoFi earnings call. And so they had their earnings, let's see, I believe their earnings came out, I'm not sure if it's after hours or pre-market, I forget. I get everything confused, but we saw this big drop. Oh no, so it was, let's see, I think it was pre-market on Monday, the 29th. And so on the Friday, we saw this move up, and then in the after hours, it broke above $8 a share, but it was in the after hours. It wasn't on the chart here. I like to look at the daily charts. I feel like that's the most wholesome data, because there's so much manipulation in after hours pre-market because of low volume, whatever. And so there was basically, in my view, there was manipulation to drive the price higher than this previous high to get people to FOMO in. But on the chart here, on the daily chart, we didn't see a higher high. And I had previously gone over in the before earnings video for SoFi that this looked like a head and shoulders pattern. And then I thought that it was going down to $6 a share, which would be this measured move, exactly to $6 a share. And that has not happened yet. It may happen, it may not happen. But what I was right about is that I thought it would be going down following earnings. And I got a lot of, not necessarily hate, but a lot of pushback from that. And somebody in the comments was actually, hey man, you were right. Sorry about that. I eat my words. And that's what the channel's all about. It's about whether I'm right, whether I'm wrong, whether you're right, whether you're wrong. We're learning from this stuff. And I think this was a clear example of pushing this up in the after hours, manipulating us to think, hey, it's going higher than 794. It's a higher high. It's going to continue. But it was not on the daily chart. And so this was really just the right shoulder, not getting higher than this one. And that's what we're seeing. And so for me with SoFi, I do not have a position, but I look forward to establishing a position around $6 a share. And if it never hits $6 a share, I'm cheering because I know that retail holds SoFi and they believe in it long term. I believe in it long term. I just don't have any shares. And so if it does go higher, I can cheer for those who are holding. And if it goes lower, we can support each other. We can buy the dip, or we can just hold, or we can just commiserate, whatever. And that's what this is all about. That is what, dumb money, roaring kitty, that's what it's all about. It's about utilizing the resources that we have, the internet, these social platforms, for us to have a little bit of an edge, because we don't have algos behind us. We don't have billions and billions of dollars behind us. But what we have is, we have charts, we have community, we have discussion. And so that's what it's all about. And so, after hours, AMC is now down more than 2%. We'll see where it opens tomorrow. But, it's still above $3 a share. And at least for me personally, that's an important level. And if it breaks that level, I'm happy. If it bounces from that level, I'm even happier. If it doesn't break that level, if it doesn't bounce from that level, and the low that we see for the after hours session and the day, if that is $3.06 moving forward, I'm happy about that too. I want to be in a position where I'm happy no matter which direction a stock goes in. In AMC, if it goes lower, I'm happy I get more. If it goes higher, I'm happy I hold, and maybe I get more, maybe I don't. But at this point, $3 a share. I thought $8 a share was a discount, and if I'm to think that $3 a share is not a discount, I don't know. So but we need to tackle the corruption, or else nothing matters. Buy and hold doesn't work anymore when there's corruption. End the corruption first. I agree with that. And one thing that I think is really interesting about, and it's not necessarily tackling the corruption, but I think it's better education on charts and the stocks and how they work and how they exploit emotions. Maybe this is controversial, but I feel like I don't know, I don't know where a good example for this is, because, it's so unpredictable. So I feel like this is just a bad idea. But here it's if it's clearly oversold, clearly there was manipulation here. The end of January 2021, the buy button was removed. That was a good time to say, hey, I want to still hold, but maybe I want to trim. And if it comes back to, a level that makes sense to me, like filling this gap, then I'll reaccumulate those shares. And so I think that that's a way for retail to have an edge, because if we just buy and hold, algos will learn. That's a very easy pattern. Retail is just buying and holding. But if retail is trimming when we get to resistance and then buying back at support, trimming at resistance, buying back at support, trimming at resistance, buying back at support, again and again and again. And then even from here, trimming at resistance, or maybe here, buying at support, trimming at resistance, that is a way that I think that we can really have the upper hand against the algos and whatnot, because if our moves are stagnation, holding, and not doing anything other than that, buying when it pulls back, or even if it continues, but that is not such dynamics that would throw off an algorithm. But if we're able to play the game. Yeah, like here. I mean, look at this. From here, from the highs here, this is just approximate. But look, we have this wedge. We broke out. We didn't retest it all the way, but we didn't pull back. And so here, when we start to see, yeah, I mean, this is like, let's look at this. We have resistance here. Okay, what we need to see is confirmation, a confirming close above the high from May 18th, 2021. And so that was at a price of, let's see, the high was $79.52. And so here we see a close above that level, but we don't have confirmation. But then here we see a confirming close. And so while the high was $79.52, $108 is much higher than that. But after getting that confirming close, let's see how much higher we ran. All right, so I'm just going to take a measurement from here, like, 108, this is approximate, up to the highs here, 268, 70%. So that is using technical analysis to have an edge. And then from this, it's like, okay, we have this big wick up. I don't want to sell. I want a diamond hand. But the next day, we don't get to a higher high. What am I going to do? I don't know. What I want to see is a confirming close above, which is a close above the high here. And so we don't see that. And as we start to see this consolidation over here, not being able to break above that, having broken, out from this, trend line, whatever, that unfortunately, whatever you want to say about it, that was a good time to trim. And then there are plenty of opportunities to buy on dips and sell rips on the way down. And so I think that this is kind of a result of stagnation due to retail only buying and holding and not being able to, like on this rip here, up to 186. Let's say I have 100 shares down here, hypothetically, at $70, and then it goes up to 186, and it's like, okay, I'm going to trim half of my position, take that money, keep it on the sidelines for if in case price does return to this level, and then price does return to that level. And then rather than finding it as resistance because buyers have been exhausted down here, we are now able to then recapitalize on the discounted shares and then send it back up. So I think that's an interesting angle for not necessarily diamond handing to be the only way, but to, have positions. Like I have way more shares now than at any time in the past. And to think that, how many shares do I want to hold for forever? And, maybe if it goes up 100x, maybe I take half of it off the table so that if it does pull back, I'm able to reestablish that position and get more shares, getting my average down. And yeah, so I think that's an interesting angle that I think retail could be exploiting, in the next cycle where we see massive rallies like this. And, maybe that would be a tough thing to talk about trimming. But I think that not selling all shares, but trimming, I think that that's an interesting way to approach the market, to always be a shareholder, but then to be positioned for if it doesn't continue higher, I can then buy back lower, stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. Supply and demand doesn't really matter if there's infinite shares. That is definitely the problem. Sorry if my rant went on for 5 minutes after you posted that. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I don't think it's just something. I mean, I think that the retail movement is definitely having an impact, definitely drawing attention to it. But I don't think it's something as simple as, I think that there's billions and billions of dollars behind it, not just coming from Wall Street, but also infiltrating into regulation, whether it's the SEC or also politics. Whatever side of the aisle, or if you're on no side, doesn't matter. No matter what, there's money seeping into politics that influences decisions on this stuff. And actually, there was maybe I could post it. There was a video from Andrew Yang. I don't know if you guys are interested in him. I think that he's interesting because he's not, one side or the other. He's, thinking about, ranked choice voting. And he had this TED talk. It's about 10 minutes long. And he talked about, basically change is very tough to happen because whether it's politicians or regulators, they're incentivized to keep the problem in place because that's how they get their votes. If they solve the problem, then they're either going to disappoint their base and then they lose the re-election votes, or they're going to, appease them, satisfy them, and then it's a different issue. They don't get their votes. And so it's really kind of like the corruption that we see, whether it's in Wall Street, politics in general, like the infrastructure of our countries, it's all based and backed by the incentive to keep things the same, keep the problems the same, because it creates job security. And so what we want is we want a fair market. And so I think that that there's a lot of reform that needs to be done. I am streaming Plug tomorrow because, hey John, what's up? I'm streaming Plug tomorrow because that's been the most popular live stream that I've ever had. It's possible this one topped that, but I don't know if that's true. But as far as like the last earnings cycle, Plug was my most popular one, so I really want to do that. And also, I've noticed that Plug has had bottoms in mid-May, so I'm very curious about that. And so because that coincides with Blink, I unfortunately won't be able to. But actually, I think Blink is after hours. And so I'm doing Plug, I think before market opens. Then I'm doing Sundial, morning trading when markets open. And then after hours, I'm starting with Clean Spark, doing the first half an hour of their live stream. And then I'm shifting over to Marathon Digital for their earnings call. And then I'm shifting over to Marathon Digital for their full earnings call. But yeah, I'm going to be doing 3 live streams tomorrow, and I'm going to try to get out a video on Rocket Lab as well. And other than that, that might spread me too thin. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm working. So I'll definitely have an AMC video out Friday as usual. And then I think I'm just going to go for, which videos that I've done in the past have had the most views and then get them out on a ideally weekly reoccurring schedule, but I end up getting behind schedule. But yeah, on that note, on the earnings tomorrow, I'm going to get signing off because this has been 2 hours and 47 minutes. And so the way Rivian recovered today after its earnings gives me hope on Plug and Blink. And I'll actually pull that up. And it does look like there's going to be an ad popping up in about 45 seconds. And so I might end the stream right around that. But I'll pull up Rivian here real quick so we can look at that. So wow, I've been taking a step back here. Yeah, so big drop. And yeah, it's closed higher today than yesterday's low. Great dip buying opportunity at a 925 low, so pretty great there. And and if we do look at the volume profile, there's this volume shelf here that was support effectively. That's why we saw the bounce there. And so, yeah, Rivian's a company I want to hold, but I just can't expose myself to too much risk. But it's definitely one that I look forward to accumulating in the near future. It's quite possible in ads starting right now or in just a second. But for me, I had cut losses with Rivian. I didn't have a huge position, but I had a stop loss, I think around 955 where the purple line is. Maybe it was at 1005. But, regardless of that, wash sale is in the past. It's been more than 30 days. And so Rivian's one that I'd like to see myself hold because, in my opinion, not everybody agrees. I think it's a beautiful truck, one I'd like to own someday. I think their partnership and or / ownership, partial ownership by Amazon, I think it's just a really great strategic move for an EV startup. And I think that their vehicles are beautiful, whether it's, the wide variety of them that they've got out there. So, yeah, flat on the day, yeah, up 0.2%. So, yeah, whenever there's a pullback on earnings, it's potentially a great dip buying opportunity, and it looks like it was for Rivian. But before I do close this, I'm going to close it on AMC. This for me is something that started as a little thing, but now it's a pretty big thing. And it doesn't matter what happens to the price. If it goes back to $2.38, if it goes to sub $2, or if we start mooning up to $10 a share or higher, it doesn't really matter. This is I feel like this to me is like Warren Buffett's Coca-Cola. This is my AMC. This is Ed's. This is Ed's Coca-Cola, our Coca-Cola, and I think that holding through these dark times going to pay off in the long term, and so that's how I view it. But I could be wrong, but I enjoy going to the movies, and I know that you all do too. But on that note, I'm going to close this down. I'll be streaming a few more times tomorrow, and should have that Rocket Lab video out as well. But yeah, thank you so much for joining. If you have not already, make sure you like the stream, make sure you like any of the videos that you do enjoy, and make sure you subscribe to the channel. I try to do as many earnings call streams as I can, and I stream every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern, going over Ticker Request Live. So you share your requests with me, and I go over the charts, and hopefully that's beneficial, at least to offer a second opinion. And always share your thoughts, whether in the live chat or in the comments below. But thank you so much for joining. I am glad that AMC is not down too much on the day. It does look like, though, it is pulling back to $3.10. But to me, any pullback is a dip buying opportunity, or, just something that doesn't faze me anymore. So, I feel good about it, and I hope you all do too. And I look forward to putting out the next AMC video on Friday. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for joining.